Well, good morning. Today, Peppa Pig and I are going to talk about money and all things numbers, because as an accountant, which I sometimes forget given that primarily I'm a chief exec now, and as the rest of you out there know, in those kind of positions, that job is absolutely all about people and strategy and all of those things. But fundamentally, a business will not function and you won't be able to deliver for your people if the numbers aren't right, which is obviously basic common sense. But I think this last year, even for somebody that qualified as a chartered accountant many, many years ago, has taught me a number of other things about finance and economics. So I thought I'd wear my glasses today in a vain attempt to look more intelligent. Not absolutely convinced it works. And also I can't see brilliantly through them, because the bizarre story was I didn't wear glasses until I had my first vaccine earlier this year. And then I couldn't see for a few days after that. So I went to the optician, got some prescription, and then got some glasses. But unfortunately, they don't really help very much anymore because my eyesight seemed to come back. Anyway, here we go. We have my intelligent looking chartered accountant look today to talk about numbers. So the first big thing for me is, how many of us spend all of our time focused on the P&L? Clearly, we have to deliver profit, particularly in a partnership model where the profit is distributed every year, or at least allocated every year to the partners of the business. It is really important that we continue to deliver to expectations, manage those expectations. But the biggie for me is you should place at least as much emphasis, if not more, on the balance sheet. I know some businesses out there that don't even forecast their balance sheet. You have to forecast both. You have to focus on the balance sheet. And the health of that balance sheet was a timely reminder for me of how businesses have fared through the pandemic. So a big reminder for me last year was focus on the balance sheet, the debt to equity structure, the liquidity in that balance sheet. That has got to be top of your priorities, even above delivering short-term profit when it comes to a pandemic. Lesson number 2 is about keeping things simple. Now, it's easy for all of us, isn't it, to be backseat chancellors and sit here and talk about what we'd do if we were sitting in number 11. For me, there are 2 fundamental things where we could improve the economy if we could get this right. The first one is to keep things simple and accessible. There are a number of schemes out there where the words have come but the actions haven't, and then when they have come, they have been impenetrable and awareness is low. So keep investment policy, business incentives incredibly simple. Make sure it's accessible, make sure people know about it, and it will get the effect that you want, not just the rhetoric up front. So back to words and actions again, but essentially keeping it simple. And I'd go as far as saying keep the tax regime incredibly simple as well, so it's transparent, fair, clear, and we all know where we stand. I'm really struggling with these glasses. Another lesson for me last year was to make sure that you are over communicating. You may think that you've communicated the finances, the numbers, and make sure everybody understands them. But remember, people need to hear things in different ways. They need to hear things many times. So communicate, and make sure you're bringing people on the journey with you when it comes to numbers. Another reflection on numbers that I've had is the need to constantly manage the short, medium, and the long term. You've got to have a longer term perspective. And we all got very short-termist, didn't we? We had to get short-termist for obvious reasons during the pandemic, but it was essential to keep managing the medium and long-term too. So it may feel sometimes like trying to rub your tummy and pat your head at the same time, but it's essential that we do. And we are absolutely forecasting further and further out now. We know we can't get certainty that far out. So manage the levels of detail. The closer you are, the more detailed you are, and the further out you are. It won't be detailed, but you need to have it. You need to manage to it. You need to have those KPIs that tell you if you are going to hit measures across short, medium, and long term. Another point for me was something I reflected on with the budget in March, which was about finding the sweet spot in the centre of the Venn diagram. So government policy, I believe, should be helping business absolutely focus. If we want to drive investment and we want to decarbonise the economy and we want to level up, we must find things in the middle of that Venn diagram and actually influence and change behaviour, not just throw money at a problem. And the more we can find schemes and policies and investment support that do all of those things, the more we can kill several birds with one stone. So make the money and the policy work harder for us would also be a reflection for me from last year. Which brings me to my next reflection, which is I think you can be incredibly optimistic and positive and ambitious and set stretch targets to drive the business, but you need to apply a different lens and a lens of realism, scenario planning, and absolute prudence to your numbers. Have a worst case scenario, have a contingency plan, know what you do about it. And my final point is probably something I can say now with the benefit of hindsight of having run a business for many years, is about trusting your instincts. The numbers are vital. Having that information in front of you is absolutely crucial, but also your instincts count for a huge amount as well. So don't just trust the numbers, challenge the numbers, trust your own instincts, and make sure you're gaining as many views as possible to help correlate with those numbers and give you certainty. I've certainly relearnt a lot of my finance background and my economic background through the last year. So it's getting quite Christmassy in here now. I think I can probably lose the glasses and start to see again, thankfully, and look out for the next instalment where I think I'm going to bling up the shed a bit more. I think we need to go more festive.